Hello folks, and welcome back to my spawn chunk demo world. We're going to be using this world to take a look at some commands within the command blocks and go into them a little bit more detail. And I felt like it was kind of appropriate with our Kick the Bucket series sort of on its way. We just released an episode talking about setting up spawn chunks and getting areas protected or whatever. And one of the big things that we kind of just sort of left up to you guys was setting up, just sort of like clearing out your spawn chunk area for command blocks, should you so desire. So what I'm going to do in this video is cover the fill and clone commands and show you how to clear out your spawn chunks to make room for as many command blocks as you want, and also to throw up some protective walls. And then I think we might go into some other commands within the command blocks in the next episodes for this command block series. But primarily this one's just going to be looking at fill and clone commands, and we're going to be focusing on trying to clear this whole region out, as I've done with this quadrant of the spawn chunks already. So what you see here behind me, I'm going to actually flip this around. Anyways, what you see here behind me, I have cleared out an entire quadrant of my spawn chunks. Removed everything from bedrock all the way up to basically ground level, and I've lined the outer wall with bedrock at up to layer 62 for now. And this is something we want to do with the next 4 quadrants. I definitely learned a little bit myself actually clearing this section out, so we're going to apply the lessons I've learned on my own, and we're going to clear out the next 3 quadrants. So let's get to it. Okay, so since each of these quadrants basically is 8 chunks by 8 chunks, that's 8 times 16, so 128. So each one of these things in terms of the square footprint is 128 by 128, which means we have 4 128 by 128s, which, that gives us? It'd be 256 by 256, basically. That would be the square footprint of this whole thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to do this in chunks, basically in each one of the quadrants. So I'm going to start with this quadrant, and we're going to start with the fill command. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to address something that I realized was very much an issue. At the surface here, we have a lot of trees, but we also have some standing water at the surface. And what I found out is that if you don't want to preserve the ground level appearance of your spawn chunks, you're going to want to remove much of the standing water at the surface first. And we can do this with the fill command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the northwest corner of my quadrant here, whatever. So basically I just need to come out to the end of this arm over here, because I'm facing northwest here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a command block right here. So I'll just give myself a command block. If you're ever wanting to know a few tricks about typing out these commands, when you have to give yourself a command block, you can type give a few letters of your name, hit tab, it should autocomplete it, and then do command. You can do COMM and then do tab again. It gives you Minecraft command block. That's a quick and easy way to get yourself a command block. I'm going to go ahead and throw this down at the end of this arm. So this is the northwest corner of this quadrant of my spawn chunks. If you have any other questions about spawn chunks, I did do a video of this exact world, so I'll link to that one, but I'm hoping you guys understand where I'm at this point. So I'm in the northwest corner. We're going to go ahead and basically what we're going to do is we're going to put in a fill command to look for all of the standing water blocks and replace them with air. So we're just going to remove them within this entire quadrant. I think that's not going to be too many, because one of the things you're going to have to realize with the fill command is it does have some upper limits of the number of blocks it can affect. So sometimes you hit that upper limit, it can be a little bit frustrating to kind of tweak exactly what you want to do. I don't think we're going to hit it in this scenario, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. So let's type it in. So first things first, fill. This is the command you want to use. So we basically have to define a region in the fill command, and we need to supply it opposite corners of a rectangular or cubed region. So basically you could think of it as if I'm going to pick one corner being the bottom southeast corner, then the opposite corner would be the top northwest corner. And we can supply it with these coordinates, so this would be like x, y, and z, and then the next set would be x, y, and z. But we can do, instead of doing actual coordinates, like saying, it's at 62, yada, 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 supplying it with 3 separate hard-coded numbers, or basically absolute numbers, we can give it relative numbers based off of the command block. So it's relative to the command block. So we're going to start right at the command block. The way we do relative coordinates is using this tilde symbol. So we've defined basically when we just supply 3 tildes in a row, it's basically saying that one corner of the region is going to be the command block itself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click done just so we can look at that. Basically, the first corner we're saying is this command block. The next corner we want to give it is somewhere down to ground level, and then all the way out to the other end of that quadrant over there, or corner, whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give it some mixed variables, or mixed values here. So I'm going to go 127 in the positive x. And the reason why I'm saying 127 is because I want the dimensions of this square region are 128, but it includes the command block now, so we only want to go 127 plus the command block. So it's an extra 127 blocks in the x direction. And then I want to focus as far down as, let's say layer 60. So that's an absolute y value of layer 60. And now I'm going to do another relative value of z for 127. So I'm saying go off 127 blocks in the x direction, 127 blocks in the z direction, but then down to layer 60. So this is the region that I've marked out. Now I want to fill that region with air, but only where we have water. So I need to supply it with a particular mode called the replace mode. In order to get to that, I need to actually supply air, in this case, a data tag. So I've selected a tile, the block is air, I need to also give it a data tag, and air, if the data tag is irrelevant, if all you just need is that block, we're just going to supply it with 0 because that's air. Air has no other configurations. In other words, like if I were going to say I wanted to fill it with wool, wool 0 would be white wool, but 1 would be another color of wool, 2 would be another color of wool. Since there's other variations of wool, then there are other data values. But with air, there's only 1, so we just do 0, and then we give it replace. So this is saying we want to only replace water. If I can type, we're only going to replace water with air. And hopefully I didn't go over the amount of blocks that I can do within this region. So this does nothing at this point until we supply it with redstone, so we need to get a lever. So I just realized I want to take a slightly different approach to this. Rather than going from the bottom and clearing out from bottom to top, I'm going to do a top-down method. It should be more fun, and it'll show you guys both the fill and clone commands at the same time. So what I'm going to do, since this seems to be pretty much just above the tree line here, I'm going to go ahead and place this command block back down here. And I'm going to, actually I'm going to put it right here. What we're going to do is we're going to fill that whole quadrant in one layer with air, just basically remove all this wool that we've done. So we'll do fill. I want to go over 1 in the positive z, okay? And I want to stay in the same x, so same x, same y, 1 over in the positive z. So we'll do 1 like that. And then we want, so it basically now defined this is one corner. And then I want to go 127 blocks off in that direction, 127 blocks off in this direction. Actually 128 because we're including this one as well. So we'll do in the X direction 127. In the Y, we're going to stay at the same Y. And then we're going to do 128 in the Z. And we're basically going to fill that region with air. So this should remove this arm entirely and half of that arm over there. I'll go ahead and do that. So there we go. So we wiped out that bit of it. Okay, so now we want to basically clone this layer of air that we've created all the way down to bedrock, and we're going to do it from top down. So what we're first going to do is basically the easiest thing is just to replace fill with clone. But this time around we want to include the command block because we want it to be able to reuse it basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the command block, and then we're going to keep this second set of coordinates the same. We're no longer going to declare air as a block type because we're not doing fill, we're doing clone. So instead we need to supply it with a third set of coordinates. So basically we've taken a region and now we need to give it a corner location that tells it where to paste this cloned region basically. So this corner has to always be the bottom northwest corner. It's always going to play that way, so because it needs to basically paste and go in the positive direction in all directions. So it needs to go in the positive X, the positive Z, and the positive Y. So that's why it always has to be the bottom northwest corner, because that's basically the corner that you get to by heading in all of the negative directions. So we want the bottom northwest corner of this to be basically one layer below our command block. So we're going to do the same X, -1 for Y, so just below the command block, and the same Z. Okay, so there we've got the coordinates. So now, hopefully this goes well. I'm hoping there's not going to be any sort of redstone signal confusion as I do this. So what I'm going to do is place a lever here and power it, and I immediately got the lever below it. I'm going to go ahead and power it again. I don't think I'm going to have any problems. It's a little bit of confusion. I'm just going to knock out the top one every time. There we go. So you can see every time I do this, I'm kind of taking a slice off the top of this. You can see I'm already kind of cutting down everything. And all I have to do is basically continue this process all the way down to bedrock, and I should clear out everything and not have any issues with flowing water or flowing lava. Okay, so I've kind of cut down here, and you can see that I'm already having some water spread across. And that's just because of the surface water on the edges of these areas, and I don't really want it to do this, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to grab a stone block, and this might be just okay practice for you guys too. It really doesn't take too long as the water is shallow. Just kind of block off those edges, and you should be okay. But as you can see, that kind of worked pretty well. Cleared out that section of the water. What I'm going to go ahead and do is do that to the rest of it, and I'll get back to you. And as you can see, this process of just continually cutting down this region is going pretty well. So as you're cutting down, you're probably going to come across some flowing lava or water along the edges. This is another great opportunity as you come across it. Just go ahead and wall it off. Again, if you're in an ocean setting, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Probably want to go about this a little bit different way. And we'll get to that in just a moment. It's going to be the next step. It'll probably help out a great deal if you do the next step first if you're in an ocean setting. Alright, so we're settled. We've handled all of the lava and water along the edges here, and we've carved all the way down to bedrock using the clone command. And what I've got here A series of command blocks, only you ever use one at a time. It's very similar to what we just did with the clone thing. As a matter of fact, it's the exact same thing. I use these to make the bedrock walls for this quadrant of the spawn chunks, and I'm going to use them to extend. So what they're doing is they are looking at a region including the command block. So this is including the command block right here. This next set of 3 coordinates is looking basically 1 over in the negative x, all the way up to layer 26 or 62. So 61 blocks up in the positive y, and then in the positive z we're looking positive 3. So we're going 1, 2, 3, and then 61 blocks up, and 1 over to include this wall. So we're basically cloning this command block and the entire bedrock wall here, and we're going to do it 4 blocks at a time. So all I have to do is flip this lever, and then we get the next set, and keep going over like this. Now this is why it's important to make sure that you don't have any flowing water and lava in here, because it creates enough lag that this takes a long time. Now, if you were doing your spawn chunks in an ocean biome and you had to deal with a whole lot of water, it might be more worth your while to create these bedrock walls first. So go up to the surface. So basically create bedrock all the way up to the surface of the ocean and all the way down to layer 1. Get a few, like I've done here, basically 4 blocks in width or whatever, and just keep cloning that region to build your wall, so that you basically create a divider from the rest of the ocean and the interior part that is your spawn chunks. Then go about doing your fill from top, or your clone from top down, cloning layers of air all the way down so that you're removing all of the water, all of the other blocks as they're coming down, and you have the barrier wall to prevent other blocks or other flowing water from flowing in. So we're building our bedrock wall much quicker than we could if we were just placing the blocks. Probably not as quick as if we were using MC Edit. Alright, so we've got an interesting scene here. We've got half of our spawn chunks cleared out, and we need the other half to be cleared out. And it just so happens that the method we employed on that quadrant we just did, we can actually do this twice now, because now what we have is a region that is basically going to be 128 by 256. And if I do my math right, 128 by 256 is the exact number of the upper limit of blocks that we can affect with the clone or fill command. So what I'm going to go ahead and do... Okay, so I had some lag issues while recording. Basically what I did is those arms or whatever, I filled them with air, and then I placed this command block right at the edge of where that arm was. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in clone from this command block in the positive x 127, same y, and then a positive z 255, and we're going to clone it basically 1 below the command block, like that. So that's going to be our clone command. So what this is going to do is, because the lever's on this side, the lever's going to be included in the clone command. So we're going to get a very similar effect. We're going to do that, and we got our next thing. And we are going to cut down 1 layer at a time, just like we did before. Okay, so I've cleared it all out, and now we just need to finish the other 2 walls. So I'm going to run through the clone command one more time. I've dug out a region here all the way up to layer 62, and I'm going to create bedrock all the way up there. We'll do a few quick clone commands to get this jump started so that we're not just doing 1 slice at a time, because we can certainly do more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the bottom here, place a command block, and do clone. And we're looking off in the positive x and z here. So we're going to clone, we'll do from the command block for now. So that's 1 corner. And then the next corner we want to go off 1 in the negative x, or 1 in the positive x, I'm sorry, up 61 blocks, and stay in the same z. And we're going to clone it to basically 1 over in the positive z, so same x, same y, 1 over in the positive z. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, and now we've got one extra layer. I'll do a similar thing, so I'm going to get 16 of these, I think. So we got 2. Okay, so you notice I went 16 blocks, so I should have come right to the edge of a chunk here. So you notice that I'm in a different chunk when I go over this threshold, so that's good. That means we're going to get the proper amount here. So what I'm going to do is now go back here, do that same clone command, clone from here, 1 in the positive x, right? 61 in the positive y, and then we're going to do 15 in the positive z. So we're cloning all of that, and then we're going to paste it 16 in the positive z. So this should mean that we're going to get this whole section and clone it. So we'll do that, and there it is. There's our next section. And it will be every time at the edge of a new chunk. So we're basically doing one chunk at a time. And we're creating a new wall. There we go. And as you can see, if I did this right, I should have this flush with the rest of it, and I do. It's all at layer 62. You could go up higher. I like layer 62 because it's basically the top of the water level in Minecraft in a default world. Generally what I like to do is, if you want to preserve the outline of the terrain that you've cut through, what I like to do is replace all solid blocks with bedrock, and then all open air blocks with barrier, and other trees and things like that, so replace those with barrier. But you could also just kind of try to smooth out the terrain around the edges. That's totally up to you, so I'm going to leave that kind of open and let you guys figure out exactly what you want to do. Okay, so we've got that section of the wall done. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to paste in the same command here, but this time, rather than looking at the same x, now we're going to look over at 15 in the x, and then paste it 16 in the x. And if we did this right, hopefully we did, because we've done good so far, I should see this pop up. Okay, so there we go. I don't know what went wrong there, but I guess now it's working, because it was saying there was some overlap issue, but now we're just going to complete the wall. So there you have it, folks. We have cleared out the spawn chunks. This is definitely something you'd want to do for your spawn chunks in your server situation. For other protected regions, you'd want to do something similar. I know I said at the beginning of this video that I was going to do the barrier wall thing up to 255, but basically it's the exact same thing as doing the bedrock wall. I apologize for my frame rate at the moment, by the way. But basically all you do is you give yourself the barrier block. I have it right here. All it is give player Minecraft barrier, whatever. Again, all you have to do is do barrier and then hit tab. I'm not even going to do it right now because it's kind of ridiculous. And then, yeah, like I said, just go ahead and do the same kind of clone commands to take care of the exterior wall with the barrier. And you don't have to put a ceiling on it with barrier when you get up to 255. You could if you want to, if you don't want people to jump over the wall, but in theory, if you're doing this multiplayer setting, you've already set up a way to control game mode, so as soon as somebody comes into the region, you're already changing their game mode to adventure, and you're changing their ability to do anything with any of the blocks themselves. So, really, this is the bedrock and barrier are more preventative in the sense of, like, allowing any sort of creatures in that, or projectiles that could cause damage, that can't, where you can't apply game mode basically to those creatures or whatever. So that really does it. I think the next video I'm going to talk about mob control. We're going to try to get rid of all of these cows and sheep here, but also take care of hostile mobs. There's a couple different ways to do that. There's really no need to explain the MC Edit approach any further. So I'll show you guys, like I said, in the next video, how to establish some clocks that take care of mob control, assuming that we've got all of the rest of the barrier set up. I think I'm going to do that in between videos here and set it up how I like it. So until next time, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm more than willing to take requests, because at this point I'm just doing this for my own fun and to create a catalog of stuff for users on our server to reference. And if you guys have any curiosities about it, I'd be happy to help as much as I can. I'm not the best at this stuff, but I feel like it's nice to have some resources out there. Not that there aren't tons on YouTube already, but at any rate, I'll catch you guys next episode. Later.